Welcome, everyone. We are so glad that you are joining us today. I'm very excited to introduce to you our special guest, Kaila June. And she is the founder of Somatic Groundwork, co-creator for the podcast Emergent Liberation Collective, and developer of Somatic Groundwork. Kayla has dedicated her life to guiding movement as medicine and believes that the somatic way offers radical renewal in our vision for social change that emerges from the inside out. Kaila June, it is a great pleasure to have you here with us today. Welcome back to the Somatic Movement Summit.
I'm really happy to be here, and it's wonderful to see you and be in the presence with you, Gayatri, as we begin this conversation this year.
Yes, this year. So tell me about your work.
So about 3.5 years ago, I came online with all of my work, and it was a really big change because up to that point, most everything had been in person, either teaching. I was teaching at a few different schools. I was teaching in studios. I had a one-on-one client practice. I had a big life change where I moved, and I decided this is the time to also really look at where I'd like to take the conversation that I was really interested in the work and in the somatic way. And I brought it online, and that's become the Soma Kini School. So the Soma Kini School serves movement teachers of all kinds, so interdisciplinary movement teachers, therapists of all various modalities, and then movement enthusiasts, body-mind explorers, and people who are really interested in investigating and researching this living architecture that we are, and how we can use this to cultivate better intimacy with ourselves, but then also how we can take those teachings and learn how to be more compassionate, caring, kind in the relational field.
Wonderful, Kayla. And I remember with great fondness last year's conversation. And what I love about you is that you're so good at articulating the benefits of an embodied somatic practice and how it translates into life, because it's not just for us to practice on the mat, right? It has to deliver in life.
Yeah.
So, and today you will be sharing a little longer practice with us from your specialty, Somatic Groundwork, which you have created. So we will be speaking more about that in a moment. So first I want to take a moment and say, now looking back at the last year, which has been, man, what a year. So can you speak about the importance of having a somatic practice in these kind of times?
Well, I think that probably one thing that's fairly common for us experiencing a global pandemic together is that this has been an unknown time, and it's been a time of change. And whenever we come into the unknown, or whenever we come into significant change that we can't control, oftentimes this leads to feeling unsettled and feeling anxiety, feeling kind of a rattling in our connection. And, there's a confusion that sets in. And it's one thing to have that happen within your kind of like own sphere in your own life, then to know that it's happening also in your neighbors' lives, and it's happening within your community, and then it's happening within your state and your country. And then you go outside and it's everybody. So there's a lot to manage there. And what somatic inquiry does is helps us to continue to return to the ever-present infinite now. And that practice can help us alleviate some of these other kind of, emotional revvings and mental revvings that are happening in the background that often is what's leading us into feeling what I call untethered. So, somatic practice is a way to find our center. It's a way to find our ground. And it also keeps us, so we can think about self-regulation. It's one important thing of somatic practice. But then from that place of self-regulation, I'm better able to then regulate with you. So in terms of our experience in the world, that social engagement system, we first have to start with, our own centering and ground, and then I can share that relational field with you. So it impacts us in all ways of our lives in a very favorable way. somatic skills and practices do.
Yeah, and you're saying that so clearly, that we have to begin with ourselves, and then that will enable us to relate in a different way. To meet our surrounding in a more grounded, maybe connected way. And I mean, we all want that. And we're all going to feel at some point or another unsettled or unease in various areas of our life. And so to me, it has been so useful to focus on physical sensation and the quality of movement and just the feedback within myself to learn those kind of practices. Can you speak a little bit about your experience in relation to that? What is your way in?
What's my way in?
Yeah.
Oh, I like all the ways in. I like all the ways in. I think the longer I've been in this practice, which began for me, fortunately, I feel very fortunate, my late teens, early 20s. And so here I am, several decades later, and I'm just as interested in this inner landscape and exploring this territory. So the channels just continue to grow and multiply. That's very exciting. Probably though, in terms of teaching and guiding somatic inquiry, beginning with attention to our breathing, mindful curiosity of our breathing is probably just the most accessible entry and creates a huge opportunity for settling our nervous system and coming into self-regulation. And it's a very simple way to enter the present moment and the now. So that's one primary channel. One thing that is really fascinating to me, no matter what channel you enter in to yourself and the relationship that we have with the environment, is what happens in terms of the emergent properties that arise. So these feelings of spaciousness, feeling of connection, the sense of being grounded, kind of an inner joy. Some people might talk about it as an inner divinity. The ability to feel belonging, both in my body and in the world. These emergent properties are what comes out of somatic practice and these somatic teachings. And I believe that's what really motivates and inspires people to keep returning back to the practice, because of that experience of how we feel in the emergence of coming back into our wholeness, essentially.
Yes, I'm so there with you. So I like also how you break it down and to make it easy and the breath is available to all of us. Mm-hmm. So we can just shift our attention. And today you will be going a little deeper into these kind of practices that will open the gateway to wholeness. Can you share a bit more about what it is that you will guide us through today?
I'd love to. So we're going to do a somatic groundwork practice. And this practice is really focused around returning back home, returning to our center. And this is where somatic groundwork always begins, because it's in this place, again, of centering and grounding. We use a handful of different resources to come into the grounding in the present moment. We have opportunity then to learn anew. It's only from this place of really coming into presence, coming into the presence of our being, that then we can go, oh yeah, I have a choice of what I can do from here. And whether that's the amount of effort that I use through my physical body, whether that's a choice of what to pay attention to and what to let dissolve. That can be a choice of following body's impulses or getting curious about what happens when I do this. We begin to expand the quality of information that comes into our brain, and this changes us. This is really the foundation for our experience. So this is what we're going to do in somatic groundwork today. We're going to come to the floor. We're going to begin with a yielding practice. And from this yielding practice, we're going to work with our relationship and contact with the earth and with the floor, and allow this experience of sensation and settling through both our nervous system and the self-regulatory system of our fascial matrix to create global change. And hopefully, when everyone comes back up to either a seated position or a standing position, you'll be able to tap into this emergent, some of these emergent properties that we were discussing.
That sounds yummy. So the way you are speaking about it to me is the essence of somatic work. So I'm really excited about trying this on with you. So what do we need to do this?
Well, you will need a floor space that feels comfortable to you. So I have carpet, but you could do this on a wood floor. You could pull a mat out. You could pull a blanket out. You want a floor space that's about as big as your body if you were laying in X, or what I call star. Comfortable clothes, so clothes that are easy to move in and that don't have buckles or belts or buttons or snap zippers, things like that, that you might feel coming through the floor into your own body. And, from there, it's really choosing a space where you can enter your own stillness. So whether you need to close some doors or create a space that has some container, maybe that's with smell, or maybe that's bringing some items to you so that you can create this sacred space that allows for you to drop in to yourself.
Sounds fantastic. Okay, let's do it.
So coming into the floor, let's find a position where we're on backs, we're on standing feet, so knees are bent and arms are a slight distance away from your body. This posture here is called constructive rest position. Now, right at the beginning, I want to say that if there's anything that I guide during this practice that's not quite right for your body, and your body is giving you different cues, different impulses, or you're not experiencing comfort and ease, please make any adjustments or adaptations that you need. Inevitably, my intention is really to help guide you into listening and to making choices that are appropriate for you. And so let's begin to settle. And even just when I say settle, what happens for you in your body? Notice if your body is asking for eyes open or eyes closed. Either one is okay. Make a clear choice about what's appropriate for you right now. And as you're beginning to settle, there might be thoughts moving through your mind. You might be thinking about yesterday. You might be thinking into later on in the day. As thoughts move through you, give witness to them. Say, hey, I notice you. Okay. And I'm going to dissolve you. I'm going to move you out to kind of the outer spaces and come back into what's present now and here. And so we're going to use our mind very specifically. And I think about taking it into the back seat and using our mind as a tool for attention. And the first place of attention that will go is into the places where your body is making contact with the floor. So coming down to right foot and left foot, noticing the texture of the floor, temperature of the floor, the weight moving through your right leg, the weight moving through your left leg. Toes, heels, outer foot, inner foot. And then moving up to where your pelvis is contacting the floor, your low back. Tuning into right side, left side. Feeling the wide, expansive space of your back body, your sacrum. And then paying attention to anywhere that the rest of your spine is on the floor, all the way up to your skull. And as you come up to your head, you might want to rock your head back and forth a little bit. Notice the balancing point. And where will you choose to have your head balance on the floor? And then noticing the weight of upper body, shoulders, down your arms, all the way to hands. Are your knuckles on the floor? Are your palms on the floor? And as if you were lying in sand, as if you were on a beach right now, can you allow the weight of your body to sink down, to sink in, to imprint the shape of you into the earth below? And in this moment, paying attention to all of these areas of weight, bringing a greater awareness, feet, low back, upper body, head, arms, sensing into the contact. And can you allow the ground to hold you here? Can you release any extra effort? As if your muscles were peeling away from bone, fully held, supported. And as you sink into earth, there's a way in which earth reaches back to support, moves back up through your tissues and gives some buoyancy. And perhaps there's a way you can begin to notice an inner spaciousness by allowing this return into the floor. Now, if your eyes are open, notice the quality of your gaze, what information you're bringing in, and see if you can let this be really simple, light, shape, texture, like it's washing over you. If your eyes are closed, opening the 3,000 eyes within you. And continue to move towards what's interesting, what feels safe, what feels nourishing. These are your resources for practice. And what we're doing here is we're taking some time. We're taking some time to allow our nervous system to adjust, to change states towards a rest and digest state. We're taking some time to allow our brains to integrate, kind of synthesize this new information coming from all of these sensory receptors in our skin and in our fascia that are receiving the support from the floor. And the next place we'll take our mind is to our breath. And let's begin with an approach of mindful curiosity. What does that mean? It's a place of witnessing how your body is breathing you right in this moment. We're not looking to change anything or to judge any aspect of how our breath is moving through us. Simply noticing how our body is breathing here. And begin by paying attention to how the breath is entering your body. So is the breath coming through your nose or your mouth? As it enters you, can you follow the pathway down through your throat, into your lungs? And as you inhale, what shape changes in you? What moves in you? You might even like to bring your hands to your body, under your ribs, on your belly, maybe a little lower, right on top of your pelvic bones. Open, wide palms, resting on your body, noticing the changing in your body that happens as you inhale. And on your next inhale, as you come right to the edge of the inhale, as it transforms into the exhale, begin following the pathway of your out breath. What happens inside your inner spaces as you exhale? Does the breath leave your nose? Does the breath leave your mouth? And in this cycle of breathing, there's an expansion and a condensing. Inhale, expanding your inner spaces. Exhale, condensing inner spaces. And perhaps facilitating more weight moving towards the floor. Inhale, expanding, the shape shifting within you, the increased space within your torso, the movement of your diaphragm, the opening of your back body, the width of you expanding. Exhale, everything moving back to your centering place. And it's the centering place to explore next. Where is the center of you? What is your center? And is there a way in which you sense this? Maybe energetically, maybe there's color, shape, there's a particular quality. And now as you breathe, imagine this opening and closing around this centering place. And perhaps it expands beyond your torso, moves out into your pelvis and shoulders, moves out to your arms and legs, moves out through your head and your tail. Perhaps you'll visualize your inhale and your exhale expanding out beyond your body into the space around you. And how can you bring awareness now to all of these areas of connection? The experience of the ground, the support of the floor, the information coming to you through your eyes, and this experience of your body breathing you. And this is our very first experience of life. After we're born, our breathing starts here. We have that first contact and connection with our mother or another caregiver. And as we begin to do other movements, continue to return here, back to this. This is a practice of yielding. It's a process of relationship. And coming back to where your feet are contacting the floor, noticing the wide open soles of your feet. And we're going to begin with a rhythmic rocking practice. And this starts with a little lightweight push that you can initiate through your feet by pushing the floor away. And with this little lightweight push, this rock will move through you. So the force will transfer through your legs, will come into your pelvis. Your pelvis will begin rocking. I often think about the pelvis rocking like a boat in the water. Move up through your spine. And you may even find that your skull, your head, is also rocking in rhythm with your pelvis. Let's do some organic intervals here. So a practice of rocking for a handful of breaths and then coming back into stillness. Noticing the experience of coming into stillness. I'll name that I experience a buzzing through all of me. It's a very pleasurable feeling. It's a little electric. So see what's present for you there and then begin rocking again. Now, at first, this kind of rocking can be a little awkward. It might feel like it's a lot of work. Just keep going with it. Keep playing with it. See if you can reduce the effort. If you can find just that amount of push and release through the floor to allow this easy rock, this rhythmic rocking to move through the whole of you. And then pausing, experiencing the stillness, and begin rocking again. Now, as you're rocking, if you begin to find that your breath closes down, it's not moving in that expansion and condensing cycle, maybe you feel it stiffening, go ahead and pause. Connect back into your breathing rhythm again, and then begin this rhythmic rocking. So we're kind of building in patterns. We want our breathing to be the underlying movement that continues to move, and then this rocking to move through our breath. Notice if your body's choosing eyes open or eyes closed. You can certainly move between the two. Noticing what kind of different information you get when your eyes are open versus when your eyes are closed. This is also a good opportunity for some open mouth sounding. So on your exhale, you might want to allow a hum to come through, or an open mouth ah, or some kind of om or oh. So see if that's appropriate for you. Those sounds also might be more visceral, a little more guttural. Maybe 3 or 4 breaths with some open mouth sounding. And then letting this particular rock dissolve. Coming back into this tracking of sensation in stillness. What's present for you now? And coming back into your feet, let's take the right leg. So we're going to keep the standing left leg, but allow the right leg to open to the side. So simple task, knee drops to the floor and knee comes back to where you started. Knee drops to the floor and back to where you started. And as you do this, notice the changing of position of your foot. So there's a rolling point of contact as the weight moves to the outer foot, and then a rolling back towards the inner foot as your foot comes back to the floor. Also paying attention to the movement within your hip socket. Notice the quality there, the ability for this hip to move in and out. And then finally, how might you use gravity to allow for this? So knee moves out, letting the leg fall, letting gravity catch your leg, trusting this process of support. And one more time on that side. Bring that leg up and moving to the other side. So my left knee is moving out now. Following that rolling point of contact with the foot. Noticing the rotation within your hip. And how you can use gravity, how you can use the floor as a partner for this little dance. And one more. Now let's switch back and forth. So right side falls, right side comes in. Left side falls, left side comes in. And in this way, we have one leg that's creating stability or ground and one leg that we're allowing to be free or mobile. So see if you can notice these two kind of different qualities, one of the mobility and one of the stability. Now, as your right leg drops to the floor, let it begin and then let the left leg follow. So both knees will end up dropping to the right side. Pause there for a moment. Check out the shape of this easy lower body twist. Weight is in the right side. And as you come back to center, taking a rolling point of contact through the back body. So reaching your tail towards the floor, rolling back, feeling that support along your spine. Left leg drops to the side, right leg follows. This is a knee drop to the left. Allowing your legs to yield into this hanging position in this lower body spiral. Weights in the left hip, reaching your tailbone towards the floor, rolling from the left hip to the right hip, seeing if you can really catch every moment of that. It's like a massage for your low back. So taking this side to side in the tempo that's appropriate for you. You might like that real slow like we just did, right, left, pause, rolling point of contact back. Or you might like something a little more dynamic. Legs fall and return to center, up and over the top. Legs fall, return to center. And as you're in this practice of knee drop, come back to the quality of your breathing. And again, if at any point you find you're holding your breath or your breath starts to kind of freeze up, pause, tune back into breathing, and begin moving again. Now, as your knees are dropping side to side, with open eyes, allow your eyes to move to that side as well, and your head will begin to roll. So as my knees drop to the right, my head drops to the right. I come back to center. As my knees drop to the left, my head rolls to the left. Now you could initiate this through legs, so legs, eyes, or maybe you want eyes and then legs. So a couple of different options here. And then returning back to center. And taking another rhythmic rock. If open mouth exhales are appropriate for you, bringing back in that sounding into your space. Notice if the quality of this rocking has changed at all. Allowing every single segment of your body to rock in its own rhythm. So my pelvis is rocking, and I'm imagining each of my spinal vertebrae rocking like their own little boats all the way up to my head. And then pausing out of that. What's your relationship with the ground now? Now we're going to begin coming out of the floor, and let's do this by coming back into our eyes. So I'm going to take my eyes to the left side, and I'm going to take my eyes to the left, and I'm going to allow my eyes to keep going until I roll over and I come to my belly. Now that's a pretty big shift from where we were. So take a moment to notice what it's like to now come to your belly. Head is up, new position. You're propped on your forearms in some way here. And I have a little easy rock moving through my body. as I'm orienting to this perceptual shift. And then easy return to the floor. You might lengthen one arm out, you might tuck your arms in. How can you roll in a supported way back to where you were? Let's do the same thing to the other side. So I'm going to take my eyes to the right, and I'm going to use that postural support through my vision to bring me to my belly. I'm in my gaze right now, so I'm looking side to side. I'm looking up, down, behind me, feeling into this new place of support where my belly is now on the floor. And then finding an easy roll back to where I started. Now, taking your eyes back to the other side, to the left side, and continue to roll until you find a reaching of your tail and you're coming into a sit. So who knows how you'll organize into this sit? And as you come into this sit, notice what it's like to be here. These grounding resources of connection, connecting into the ground, tuning into your breath, maybe hands to your body here. The relationship you have with your environment through your eyes, exploratory orienting. And if you'd like then next to come up to your feet, place your feet underneath you in some way to where you can roll up through your spine, and head would be the last thing to come up. Taking time with that shift of changing positions. And check in with how you are now. What are a few words you might use to describe your experience? And here in this presence of being, making a small promise or a commitment to yourself. Maybe it's a sort of game of how you can return back to this place again today. Can you find yourself returning to this place of ground, presence, center that always is and always has been? Thank you for joining me in this practice of somatic groundwork. It's wonderful to move with you.
So Kayla, wow, I'm just trying to get back into this view now after laying down and journeying inside of myself, being guided by you. That was so rich. How long have you been, how could you get so good at that? How long did that take you to develop these skills of guiding in this way, this sophistication?
Well, I have been guiding somatic movement for a long time. Let's see. I would say it really started in the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's been a while. And, as I'm working with other teachers who are learning to be somatic guides, one of the key things I believe for guiding is to continue to be in the investigation ourselves, because that's where all of the wisdom comes from. And we're each going to have a different way that we carry it forward.
Yes, well said. I fully agree with you. And I feel so invigorated after this practice. And I loved how simple it was. And that it really gave me space to attune to myself and settle. So I guess that we could do that, whatever we can recall from the practice, we can practice that and being in that state with ourselves.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to offer this practice today, because it's one of the practices that if we are willing to be in this practice and to transition into these states, and we attend to some repetition, and doing this over a period of time, right? Dropping into this experience 10 minutes a day, over, the course of many weeks, we find then that not only can we access this place of presence when we're in the floor and in this dedicated practice, but again, we can then start to call on these qualities when we're in our lives, when we're with our children, when we're with our friends, when we're at the grocery store, when we're in our community, whatever kind of circles that we engage within. We can begin to bring this kind of presence and then increase the quality of our relationships by how it is that we are entering into the space.
Exactly. And so that's what it's all about, igniting that wholeness that we all hold in ourselves. So, Kayla, when people want to learn more from you, how can they reach you?
I would love to meet you. So those of you that are interested in connecting with me, you can connect with me at my website, which is kailajune.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Somatic School. And those would be the best ways to find me and to connect.
So Kayla, do you offer anything online?
I do. So I have many different online offerings. There is a monthly membership site that I have. I offer occasional 2-hour workshops. I do more in-depth educational programs with movement teachers and therapists who are interested in really diving into this work. So hopefully there's some way that you can connect and work with me if you're interested.
That sounds beautiful. Thank you. And if you want to leave us with one statement or one reminder, what would that be?
That when we choose the path of the somatic way, we choose much more than a movement practice. We really choose an opportunity to change ourselves and to change the world that we're living in through our presence.
Beautiful closing words. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Kayla.
You're welcome, Gayatri. Thank you for having me.
What a great session with Kaila June. Thank you all for listening.